Hello and welcome back to another video. So today I thought we would talk about winter clothing. I went to the Frostbite Winter Camp Symposium here in Alberta last month, and it was my first time at the event and actually my first time winter camping. So I did buy some clothing and some gear for that event specifically. So I thought we would talk about the gear that I did buy, why I bought it, why I chose it, the cost, and some of the benefits of it. So let's get right into it. So first things first, let's discuss base layers. Now this was a winter camping event, so I had never been winter camping before and I wanted to make sure that I was prepared for the cold weather. And I have two base layers here that I bought. Now this first set, I got both of these sets at Mountain Warehouse. And I bought this first set probably in the summertime because I knew I was going to be going to this event and I wanted to make sure I had a base layer. And at the Mountain Warehouse, it was an outlet store, and if you bought the membership, then you got the member pricing, and they had some really good deals on base layers. So this is the first set that I bought. It was regular $49.99, but because I did sign up for the free membership, I got it for the $39.99 for the membership price. So $40 for this top here. This is a merino wool base layer. It's 80% merino wool and 20% polyester, so it's not 100% blend. Ideally, I would have liked a better blend, but based on my price range and my limited selection in sizes, and this is a little bit big for me actually. It's a size 8, which is US 4. And with base layers, you actually want a snug fit. You don't want it too loose or baggy. Unfortunately, like I said, this one is a bit big for me, but they just didn't have anything at the time in my size, and I needed something for this winter camping trip. So I chose this for the top, and then for the bottom, this one was $40 as well. And this is not actually the merino wool. This is a mix, polyester mix, synthetic mix, but it was, again, $40. This one actually fit fairly well. It's a bit long on the legs, but I mean, I can roll up the legs. That's not as big of a deal. It just gives me more material down at my ankles, so I don't mind that so much. It was an extra small, so it wasn't too bad. And it was $40 as well. So I've got two pieces here for my first base layer, and the total was $80 plus taxes. Now, you're probably wondering why I have a second set here. And the reason for this is at the event during the day, there were numerous workshops and activities going on, and I didn't want to be wearing this base layer and possibly sweating in it and then going to sleep at night and having that excess moisture that's just going to reduce my core temperature, and I'm not going to sleep well, I'm not going to be comfortable, and there's the risk of hypothermia. So I got this for wearing during the day, and this second set, which I would change into at night. Thankfully for this weekend, the coldest it actually got was about -10 degrees Celsius, which I believe is around 14 degrees Fahrenheit. That was the coldest it got. So it was actually a really nice weekend. So these base layers actually worked really well for me. So this was the second one. This was my nighttime one that I changed into. And you may notice that this is actually a kid size. Again, for your base layer, you want it snug fitting. I have a very hard time finding clothes that fits me. I'm about 4'10" and 90 pounds. So even extra small women's sizes are usually too big for me. I just happened to find this when I was shopping around Christmas time. I want to say it was on Boxing Day. So I went with my brothers to do some Boxing Day shopping, and I was hoping to find a second base layer for a decent price. And actually the benefit is the kid size was $29.99, so it was $10 cheaper than the women's extra small, and it fit me better. So I did spend the $30 on the top, and this is a merino blend. I believe this one is actually, it's 70% merino wool and 30% polyester, so not quite as high, but still a decent quality. And again, for that price, I mean, I couldn't go wrong for that. So I got the top for $30, and then I got the bottoms. Again, it's a kid's size, but they fit. They were $30 again, so $10 cheaper than the extra small women's. So in total, for this second set, I paid $60. Now that is quite a bit of money for me to spend on clothing. I typically do not spend this much money on camping and gear and such, but because it was winter camping, I do plan on going in the next year and hopefully in the following years as well. So it's something that I'm going to be using hopefully on a regular basis. I plan to do a lot more winter camping. It was a lot of fun. So it was $80 for this set and $60 for this set, and those are both of my base layers. So now moving on to the next layer. So this is the next layer that I wore, and I have two sets here because this was for a weekend camp. So I got there on the Friday afternoon, morning, probably late morning, and then I was staying until Sunday afternoon. So I actually had another shirt, which I don't have with me today, but these are two of the shirts that I brought, and these I also got at Mountain Warehouse for a really good deal. This one is, again, this was a bit big on me. It's a US 4, size 4, so it was a little bit big for me, but I had a decent base layer, so I wasn't too worried about it. So that was one piece. That cost me, I believe, yep. So that one was $6.99 for that shirt, and it was a very comfortable shirt. I was actually really happy about it. Again, it was a little bit big and baggy, but it gave me lots of room to have layers and such. Very nice and comfortable as well. So I didn't mind spending the $7 on it, and I will wear it again. So that piece cost me $7. And then I got a second shirt, and this one, let's see what size this is. I'm pretty sure it says on the tag, it says a US 6, so this is even bigger, but the style allows for it. It's got a nice turtleneck, which I liked because it kept my neck nice and warm, and it actually, I would say it actually fit better than the size 4, so I'm not sure if it was mistagged or not. It says US size 6, but it did fit a little bit better than the size 4 I found, and it was very comfortable. Again, I really liked this shirt. This one was a bit pricier. I paid $20 for this one, and I don't know what the material is. It says Maribel Women's Cotton Roll Neck, and typically I would avoid cotton in winter camping. Like I said, this was a fairly decent weekend for weather, so I could kind of get away with it, and because I had my merino wool base layer, it wasn't so bad, so this was okay. So that was my layer, my shirts on top of the base layer. Then for the pants, I had two different sets. Now this set here is actually a Columbia, which is a very expensive brand name, and I typically would not be able to afford these, but I just happened to go into a clothing store that was liquidating, and I decided to check out what they had, and these pants were regular $90, and I got it for 90% off. So that means that I spent $9 on this $90 pair of pants, and I was very happy. I wore it throughout the weekend, and they were super comfortable, decently warm. They're not winter, they're not insulated or anything like that. But again, because I had that base layer and it was a nice weekend, this was perfectly fine to wear. I'll probably wear it as well throughout the spring, probably year-round when I do my camping, so I'll wear these lots. It had lots of pockets, nice big pockets, and they were just really great pants all around, so I was very happy with this buy. They were a little bit big. It says size 2 regular, but I found that they fit quite kind of loose and baggy, so I just wore a decent belt with it, and it was fine. So that was the first pair of pants that I had. This second pair, I paid more for. I want to say it was around $20 to $25 for these pants. And these were really great. They're actually insulated, so these are more winter pants, winter outdoor activity pants. It says size large, but the sizing is horrible on these. I think they were from China, it looks like. So the sizing was really off. They were big on the waist for me, but I found the legs were really quite tight, and I didn't like that this area in here, kind of the crotch area, is actually quite long, which I found a bit awkward when I was trying to do activities, because that extra length kind of limited my mobility a bit, so I had to hike up the pants whenever I was bending or doing anything like that. But aside from that, they were super comfortable and really, really warm with that extra insulation in there. So I'm actually really happy. Like I said, I think I spent $20 or $25 on these. I didn't keep the receipt, but they were definitely worth it for me. And they're really durable, I'll say that, because I was doing a lot of activity. And I mean, I didn't even get them scratched. They didn't really get dirty. And even if they did, I mean, it came out fairly easily. So I was very happy with these pants. So that's like a $25 pair of pants. You don't have to spend a lot of money on clothing and equipment. If you have the money and it's really good quality, go right ahead, spend that extra money. But for me, I'm on a budget, and I'm lucky enough that I found a few good deals so that I could actually afford these items. So that was the shirts and the pants, and we'll go on to some of the other clothing that I had for the weekend as well. So just hang with me here. So as you can see, I brought a number of different layers. That way, just in case the weather did get nasty, then I could add on some layers to keep warm. And if it turned out to be really nice, then I could take those layers off. So the next layer that I had on top of my shirts were the fleece liner for my jacket. So this is, I believe, what size is that? Size 6. It is a little bit baggy, but that's okay because this is just one of the insulating layers, and it's okay to be a little bit baggy. And it gave me some room to have those other layers underneath, and then still have enough room to have my jacket over top, or my coat over top of this liner. And this was actually super comfortable, really nice and warm. I'm very happy with it. I paid $25 for it, and for fleece, that's a decent price. That I was willing to pay that much for it. And it was, like I said, a size 6, which is a little bit big, but I will wear it numerous times, so it'll be worth the money that I spent on it. So that was the fleece jacket. Then, of course, I've got my wool socks, and these, I don't remember what the percentage of wool to polyester was, but I know it's a fairly high percentage. It has extra padding on the toes and the heel, so they were super comfortable. They're really super warm, so they were really great to wear. I had actually a number of different pairs, so I wore one during the day, again switched into a dry, clean pair of socks at night, so that sweat, even if it was just a little bit, wasn't going to reduce my core temperature while I was sleeping. And even the smallest amount of moisture can really drop your core temperature, so you don't want to take any extra risk, especially when you're winter camping, any risk of getting hypothermia, when all you really have to do is pack an extra pair of socks or an extra base layer. So for me, I had a couple of pairs of wool socks, the same as these. This pair was actually free. It was gifted to me during the PV Mart grand opening here. I was working at the store at the time, and they had a couple of pairs left over from the grand opening, so I got a free pair. So this one was actually, it didn't cost me anything. So my wool socks. Then of course I had a toque. This is nothing special as far as material or anything like that, just your basic toque. If you can get a good quality one, obviously that's better, but this did just fine. At least I had my head covered, and I was plenty warm with this toque. And then this is just an extra thing that I always have in my bag, and that's my schmog. And I did wear it a couple times during the weekend. I didn't really absolutely need it, but it was quite handy to have, and actually I found that it did a really good job of adding extra warmth. I'd wrap it around my neck and tuck it into my coat, and I found that worked really well if I just wanted to quickly warm up. And this is actually 100% cotton, and typically, like I said, I would avoid cotton when winter camping, but this wasn't touching my skin directly. I had enough layers that this was actually quite nice to have in my pack as an additional layer, additional warmth. And last but not least, my winter jacket. So I bought this again at Mountain Warehouse. I had that membership, so I get a really good deal on it. I believe at the time I spent about 50 bucks on this coat, which is more than I would typically spend on a jacket, but because I was using it for winter camping, I don't want to take any risk and end up with hypothermia, end up miserable on my camping trip, cold and just not having a good time. So I spent the $50. I was very happy with it. I wore this jacket the whole weekend. It is 100%, I believe, 100% nylon for the shell. And what does it say here? 100% nylon for the shell. Lining is 100% nylon, and filler was 100% polyester. So it's a synthetic material, but it was very warm, very comfortable. It's extremely lightweight, and it compresses very well. So I mean, I could squish this up into almost nothing, and it didn't take up much room in my pack if I needed to take it off if it was too warm. And I could just take it out and put it on if it got a little bit cool. Again, it was a really nice weekend, so I didn't have to worry too much about that. I did wear it for the most part, just to make sure that I didn't cool off too much, and I was very happy with it. The only thing is, I think they could have added some extra pockets and such. This here, it almost looks like a pocket at first, but it actually, there's a hole down here at the bottom. And, I mean, you could still stick something big in there and you wouldn't have to worry about it. But really, all they would have had to do is sew a seam right here along this short little piece here where the hole is. And you would have had an extra pocket, easy, on the inside. So, I mean, that's something that I could probably do myself and add in. But it just seems kind of like a bit of wasted material and wasted space. But other than that, I mean, it's got a decent pocket here on either side. But that extra pocket on both sides would have given me a lot more space to work with, and I'll probably just sew that in myself, so no, not a big deal there. But for the $50, I was very happy with this coat. I would worry a little bit. I think there was a spot on here somewhere where I may have snagged it, and I'm worried that some of the filler might come out. I can't find it here right now, but hopefully I'll be able to find it and just maybe patch it up a little bit. So it's not really durable, but I was doing a lot of activities outside, and so that's kind of to be expected, I guess. But it was a decent coat. Again, Mountain Warehouse, with that membership, I got a decent price on it. So that was all of my winter clothing that I had. Obviously, there's your underclothes, your undergarments and such. And I didn't really do anything special for that, just what I would usually wear. It was a really nice weekend, and that worked out fine for me. So I don't know if there's some special clothing that you can have that you can use for your undergarments. Probably avoid wearing cotton again. I know I keep saying that, and I don't even remember where I heard the term, but I have heard the term mentioned, the phrase cotton kills. And I actually did a little bit of an experiment on that, so we'll talk about that here in a minute. So I did do a bit of an experiment on that winter camping trip, and I brought some cotton clothing with me. Now I brought my regular winter clothing as well, and I just brought this as a kind of a backup experiment. If it was fine, I'd give it a try and see how it worked. And I never actually did wear it, because what I did was I was camping in a tent. It was just a cold tenting situation. I didn't bring a hot tent or a stove or anything like that, but I had a really good sleep system, and that's very important when you're winter camping. So in between my sleeping bag and my fleece liner for my sleeping bag, I put a few pieces of cotton clothing to see if maybe keeping them in between those two layers would help to keep the cotton warm during the day. And then at night, I thought I'd change into my wool base layer and maybe try the cotton clothing and see how cold it got or if it was fine. And I never did wear it, because after the first day of activities, I went to my tent, I opened up my sleeping bag, checked to see what it felt like, and the cotton was cold, very cold to the touch. And I thought, I do not want to have that on my body, even with that base layer in between. That would have really reduced my core temperature significantly. So I never did wear it. Now, in contrast to the cotton material, the clothes that I had that I was not wearing during the day, I kept it in my tent, and I kept it, even the wool and the synthetic material clothing, I kept in between the layers of my sleep system, just to try and hopefully keep them a little bit warmer during the day and at night when I wasn't wearing them. And I noticed a significant difference between just touching the cotton clothing and the synthetic and the merino wool clothing. And the merino wool and synthetic clothing was quite a bit warmer to the touch. The cotton was very cold to touch, actually, to the point that I didn't even want to put it on. So what I did at night was I simply took off the clothing I was wearing, switched into my nighttime base layer, and I just wore the base layer in my fleece liner inside of my sleeping bag with the rest of my sleep system. And I can probably do another video on the sleep system that I used for this winter camping trip. But that worked quite well for me, and the wool base layer was perfectly fine, again, at that -10 degrees Celsius temperature. If it was any colder, maybe I'd need some more layers, but again, I had a really good sleep system. So that's what I did, and it worked quite well for me. All of the clothing that I bought, I was very happy with. The quality was very good, and it kept me very comfortable for the whole weekend. So I will definitely use those on a regular basis, hopefully. So hopefully you found this information helpful. And if you have any tips or advice, please leave some comments or shoot me a message. That's all. We'll see you in the next video, hopefully.